Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you've decided to watch this video. Today I'm going to be going through rural to urban migration at the Katinga. Few key words pop up straight away in our title. Rural. Rural is how we describe in geography the countryside. It's a more simpler term. So we're talking more the mid to North Wales area in relation to us, whereas urban is the opposite. It's that inner city area. It's your Cardiff, your Swansea, near the city centre. You're more of an urban area. Think of more pavement, streets, buildings, whereas rural you're thinking more countryside, national parks. The other word that you might not have seen before is migration. Migration is the movement of one place to another. So if you put it all together, what we're going to look at today is people from the countryside moving into city areas. And the case study we're going to look at is the Katinga. So the first question is, where is the Katinga? You will find the Katinga to the northeast of Brazil, next to Cerrado, and alongside Mata Atlântica. What I would like you to do first is to practice your geographical sketch map skills. Can you please sketch out the outline of Brazil, followed by identifying each area and labeling it. If you have colors, that'd be great. You can add it to make it more clear. So pause the video, complete the first task, and resume when you're ready. Okay, so now we're going to look at what is pushing people away. So push factors, talk about reasons why people don't want to be in the Katinga. Some of the push factors you can see in these images I will be going through, but if you want to challenge yourself, put push factors in the middle of the book. You'd need about half a page, and put as many as you can and resume when you're ready if you want to add any more. Okay, if you've gone straight through, I'm going to talk about the kind of push factors that push people away from the Katinga. One large one can be unemployment. With less opportunity to get jobs, the Katinga can have high levels of unemployment. The kind of jobs you would find there would be farming, cattle ranching, maybe the two most popular. The problem with these jobs is they're going to be of a lower wage. They're going to be a lower wage because, as we saw when we did our graphs right at the beginning, you don't need much of an education. It's not a high-end job, it is a primary job. So that's why a lot of people in the Katinga go into these businesses and these industries if they stay in the area. If people get fed up and they want to make more money, that's when they get pushed away. One problem in these rural areas is crop failure. Due to the lack of technology and living in these rural areas, the seasons can be very tough. If you go through blistering heat for a long time without much rain, that is known as a drought. A drought can cause crop failure and a lot of difficult for people who make their money through farming or cattle ranching. Other problems are the poor living conditions. If we're not making money, if we're not able to feed ourselves, it will lead to a poor quality of life, therefore poor living conditions. Houses will not have the infrastructure that you can afford. A lot will be homemade. As you can see in the photo in the centre, getting clean water can be difficulty. You don't have proper sanitation in place. You don't have proper sewage systems, so it can be a very difficult place to live. As we move on about the two children who are struggling to get clean water, you also have a problem with healthcare. With no healthcare, there's going to be a lot of issues. There'll be a high infant mortality rate. There'll be a high death rate, and it can be a very dark place to live at times. You have fewer facilities such as schools. With no education system, it's not giving the opportunity for people to go for these higher wage jobs. So many people are pushed out of the Katinga. They're pushed away. So what you need to do is put push factors in the middle, and you can replay the video as I've just spoken, and around push factors, can you put as many reasons as you can think of why people have left the Katinga. So pause the video and start the task, and when you're finished, press resume. Okay, so you should have a mind map or a list of many different push factors. You should understand why people are leaving the Katinga. We're now going to move on to pull factors. Pull factors is what is pulling people to move to these big cities. Initially, a lot of people in Brazil will move to these areas for jobs. There's more opportunity for jobs. It's not just the industries of farming or cattle farming. There can be anything from a taxi driver to cleaning services to working at the hotels, due to Rio de Janeiro having a huge tourist industry. As you see the beautiful beaches they've got in Brazil, many people visit there on holiday, and this gives an opportunity for many different jobs. There's also the opportunity for jobs with a higher wage. If there's a higher wage, higher income, it can increase the quality of life. With the higher income they get from these jobs, there's opportunities to create better living conditions, good sanitation, so sewage systems, recycling systems, opportunities to get rid of rubbish, less pollution, pollution from humans dropping rubbish around in the area. If they were to get ill, obviously in the city there's going to be better health services. This will help people decrease death rate. It will give opportunity for people to live longer and work, and families to feel more safe. In these inner cities, if you had young children, you would want them to get into an opportunity to have a better education. Because as we've talked about before, if they have the better education, this can lead to the opportunity to get the higher paid jobs and therefore increase their quality of life. There's better chance of good facilities, like I said, with the sewage and drainage, but on a social aspect as well. Rio de Janeiro from the outside can be a fantastic place. As you see in the bottom right, the famous statue, Christ the Redeemer, you see the beautiful beaches, and it has a massive restaurant and bar industry along the beaches where people can enjoy themselves and have a good social life. So what I'd like you to do is put pull factors in the middle, and can you label around different reasons people are pulled in to the cities. What have the cities got that pull people in? You can replay the video and take the notes as I've said them, and you want to complete a mind map or list of all the pull factors you will find in a large city. So pause the video and start the task, and when you're ready, press resume. Okay, welcome back. So we're going to look at some case studies. We've worked out why people are going and leaving the Katinga to go to these cities. We know the reasons why. But now we need to know what is the impact. There are going to be effects on Katinga, and there's going to be effects on Rio de Janeiro. Effects on the Katinga of out-migration, so leaving. I found 3 different case studies for you to complete. The images can be found on a PDF below this video. If you do not have a printer, you can just use the text. So the first one, I am Roberto, and this is my brother Ronaldo. Our dad left to go find work in the city. This means that. So look at the image. What industry do you think they were in? Possibly farming. If the father had left, what sort of responsibilities are now on these 2 boys? What social issues start to rise? A father not to look after them. They would have to, at a young age, start working on the farm. So that's your first case study. My second, my name is Rosita, I'm 58. We have lived on our farm for generations, but now my young sons have left the Katinga. As a result of this, so, as Rosita said, she's getting older, his sons have left, they've had the farm for generations, what is going to happen to the farm? Rosita is getting older, and it'll be more difficult to run the farm. If the young sons are in the city, there's possibility of losing that farm. The third case study. My name is Essa, and I have 5 children. Since the men have left, the other mothers and I have to do all the manual labour on the farm. This can mean that. So, in regards to Esther, she has to raise 5 children and work on the farm. Think of the problems that could arise. How difficult would it be for the manual labour and the childcare to be on the responsibility of one person? So for this case study, you need to explain how overwhelmed the women in the village can be. So the task is that all three, I put dots for you to carry on the sentence. Each one is a singular case study. So where it says this means that, as a result of this can mean that, can you please complete the sentence? If you want to push yourself, you can talk about knock-on effects. So this means that for Ronaldo and Roberto, they have to work on the farm. By running the farm, they are then losing the opportunity to move out themselves. You can put a positive spin on it, and you can say there is an opportunity for our father to send work home, money home from work, which will benefit the farm and benefit our family. So what I would like you to do is have a go at all three case studies. You may pause the video, complete the task, and resume when you're ready. Okay, so we've seen the effects on the Caatinga of people leaving and the people left behind. But what about the effects of in-migration? So arriving at Rio de Janeiro or at one of these main cities. So, I am Paulo. I have recently got a job on a construction site. I have no contract and they choose what they pay me. This has caused problem because many of these workers who are going across are very low skilled workers. They haven't had the opportunity of education in Caatinga and they've grown as either farmers or maybe cattle ranchers. This then brings a desperation for money. They want any money they can get to send home. This is where workers can be exploited. They can be used. So people will do jobs for lower than minimum wage for money that they should be paid more for, but they're so desperate to get money back to their family, they'll take the jobs anyway. So when talking about Paulo, you need to talk about the problems that people can take advantage of him, that he won't be paid what he should be paid, but he will still have to work because it is still money for his family. Secondly, I am Francisco. I have found myself a job at one of the hotels on the outskirts of Rio. I have no car to get there from the favelas. This means that, so we have worked out Francisco, he's got himself a decent job at a hotel, but he has no way of getting there every day. As you can see from the image and the size of the crowd, he's going to have to take public transport. If you imagine a lot of these people moving to just outside the big city and using this public transport, there's going to be a lot of pressure on it. It's going to be difficult to use. They're going to wake up very early and fight the crowds to get on the train. There's also the issue that if they work in low-skilled jobs, such as cleaning in a hotel at the time, then they won't be making the wage to be able to afford that transport every day. So there's two issues for Francisco. It's the overcrowding of public transports and the effect that has on the transport system. With more people going on, it might push the prices up, knowing how in demand public transport is. And we know that the money that he wants to send back, a percentage of it he has to use on transport. Finally, we have I am Paulo. It has been tough to find a job since I've got close to the city. I've been introduced to other ways to make money. For example, on the outskirts of a large city like Rio de Janeiro, we have the favelas, which we've been introduced to previously. The favelas can be a dangerous place. You have a lot of people who are very desperate for money, who have left these areas like Caatinga in the hope to get a job. It isn't as simple at times to go and get yourself a good contract job with low education, low experience. So many end up turning into crime and turning into gang culture and finding different ways to make money that way. This can be dangerous for young men who can be manipulated to work in these kind of violent environments. So for Paulo, for example, you need to put about how he's been introduced to crime and how he's ended up in the favelas in a dangerous situation. So what I would like you to do is these three case studies. Could you finish the paragraph for each one? You can pause the video and resume when you're ready. Okay, welcome back. So that's the end of our slideshow. You should have a good understanding of why people are leaving the Katinga, why they're going to the city, what is dragging them out to the what is pushing them away from the Katinga, and what is bringing them into the city, and then what are the impacts on Katinga, and what are the impacts on Rio de Janeiro. This is a nice introduction. We now know why people are moving in. And next lesson we'll be looking at what happens when they get there. Thank you for listening. Good luck with everything. I'll see you next lesson. Thank you.